Defining your personal style. Now, it sounds like it might be easy, but really it's not, because it's all about those words that you choose, that you need to know how to say within 1 or 2 sentences, this is me, these are the designs that I like to do and present. It is so important. So I actually met with a young designer who had an incredible debut show, fashion designer. And I said, you now have the power to change the course of your trajectory. You know, you started out, you came out with a bang. Now you can really take that. But who are you? What defines you? What is going to separate you from the rest of the pack? And I think that's what really needs to be imprinted on him as well as all young designers. How are you different from everybody else? Understand that your personal style is probably also going to change over time. That's not a bad thing. But what you want to do is define who you are at that moment. In this moment, right now, who are you? And how do you find that? I mean, as young designers, you're probably grasping at straws, trying to figure out where exactly you fit into this whole world. It will come over time, but try and define it the best you can. And then as you go along, things will start to fall in place and you'll start to understand really what defines you and what people identify you as. Because I think there's also the perception of what people see and what you feel. And so it's a matter of marrying those two together to come up with who you are and what is your style. Style is something that's just inherently in you. Style is something that you exude, that you emote. Now, a good designer has a style, and that will always come through. It's like the DNA that drives you and all your projects. You always know you have that sense of style that nobody else does. That's what makes you special. Don't ever lose it. So I've been speaking specifically about interior designers and getting that messaging across. Now, it's not exclusive for them. It's not exclusive for creatives in general. You know what? I actually had a friend who was going out on a job interview, and I said, the interviewer is going to want to know who you are. You should also be able to say who you are in a really brief statement. Hey, I'm a sales associate that loves this, and I do this. It's almost like speed dating in a way. You need to be able to tell a person who you are in the most descriptive way possible and a way that gets them to like you. Really, you want them to paint this picture in their head again and just get a sense of who you are in that really small soundbite. So, for example, when I was on Design Star, the first challenge that I got was about describing who I am as a designer and what my design style is in less than 30 seconds. Look, I don't remember what I said because I know I did horrible at it because I wasn't prepared for it. But it's one of those things that I think every designer needs to know how to do. It's using words that are descriptive. It's using words that evoke an emotion. So instead of just saying, I'm modern, I'm cool, you can use words like words that I use, edgy, gritty. They still kind of fall under that cool category, but they give you an emotion. They paint a picture in your head. Those are the words that we want to use when we describe ourselves. So again, I use the word cool. Cool is a nice and generic kind of word, but it gives a certain connotation. Now, if you use gritty, edgy, sexy, you're somewhere else. Now, a lot of designers love to use the word modern. What does that mean? Modern could be anything, especially if you're saying modern in reference to the 1700s, anything is modern. So we really have to put it in context. We really have to start to understand what picture we want to paint. So if it is modern, but maybe it's mid-century modern, mid-century with the use of pastel colors, They're sort of contradictory, but that's who you are. That's what you want. You want to paint as much of a picture in that person's head, but give them broad strokes so that they can formulate in their own head who you are. And then you can just wrap them in and hook them in when you start to speak with them. But they, again, need to know what point of view you're coming from. So why all these pretty words? Why all these descriptive words? Well, really what it comes down to is, how are you defining yourself from the crowd? As a young designer, I know that we want to try and appeal to everyone. We want the most mass appeal possible. But, little insider secret, once you realize who you are and what differences you offer, what makes you different from the rest, you will actually be more successful than trying to be generically well accepted. So now it's time to get your hands dirty. Where are these words coming from? How do you choose these specific words in order to paint that picture? Well, I think one of the easiest ways to do it is gather your friends around, because your friends are probably going to be the harshest critics of you. They're going to be the most honest, the most helpful, really. So show them your design and ask them to come up with words that they think describes what they see, whether it's fanciful, whether it's painterly, whether it's unexpected. Gather up all these words, maybe 25 different words, and start to pick and choose what really feels like you, what really defines you. Then you'll know where you want to go. So ultimately, what is this all about? You've got these words, now how to formulate it into something. So let me give you an example. For me, I would say, hey, I'm Tyler Wisler. I've been a designer for over 20 years in New York City, and I love dark colors. I embrace them, and I like to create cool, sexy, edgy, gritty environments that are made for a rock star, because who doesn't want to live like a rock star? So you can do the same thing. Just figure out who you want to target, where you want to be. Use those descriptive words to paint those pictures in people's heads. Got it? Go. I think once you know who you are, your tribe finds you. That's when you get the most success. That's when you get the clients who refer you to another client, because you've found those people that appreciate who you are for what you bring. So these descriptive words are to define who you are and to really give them a better sense of what they're in for, what all the awesomeness is about. What happens when you get a client that's actually not part of your tribe? Well, it's going to happen more often than you think. But the one thing that you can do is you're still designing from your point of view. It is still being filtered through you. So there are certain aspects of it that will still carry that DNA of who you are and what you do. So I personally love black. Can you tell? I love black in interiors. I love black on clothes. Not everybody is a fan of black. But with interiors, I honestly feel like every interior can use a touch of black, whether it's a large amount or a small amount. You need that to help ground it and create some sort of depth. So how do you communicate that to a client? Maybe they're not going to embrace it the way that I do, but how do you tell them you need a little bit of it? Well, this is where the education and experience kind of fall back into play. You ground those arguments in a foundation of why. As long as you can answer the whys in a way that helps them understand where you are going, it will help you through so many situations. Now, sometimes they can't visualize it, so you need to go out, you need to give them examples. I think the more homework you do, the more prepared you are, and the more ways that you can express to them and impress upon them what you want to do, the better off you're going to be, as opposed to just saying, well, because. Because is not going to cut it. You need to show why. Give them the full experience. Bring them to a space where it is reflecting upon what you want to do. That's what you want to do. You want to make sure that you go in completely armed with all the ammunition possible if you are going to shake up their world, because doesn't everybody deserve to be a little shaken up sometimes? So to get your point across, you just have to know the why. You have to know what you're telling the client, because that's their biggest question mark. Why? Why are you doing this? Why are you proposing this? So as long as you know your why, as long as it's grounded in some foundation of education and experience, you're going to be able to sell it. When you know the why, you're good to go.